I remember the day things started to unravel like it was just this morning. It all began with a seemingly harmless, offhand remark from my wife, Sophia, right there in the small, cozy living room of our apartment. At the time, she was 28, I was 32, and we were 5 years into what I thought was a happy marriage. Back then, I genuinely believed we were on solid ground. I had a good thing going with my jewelry business, which I ran with my brothers, and she was proud of the little cafe she owned. I thought we had built something strong, but all it took was one casual sentence to shake that belief. "There's a new guy who comes to the cafe," she said with this spark in her voice. "He's really interesting." Right then, something in her tone made me sit up. It was that kind of hushed excitement she usually saved for talking about the romance novels she liked to read. She went on to describe him. His name was Marek, from Croatia, tall, blonde, and, in her words, ridiculously charming. That hit me harder than I expected. Still, I tried to laugh it off like it was no big deal. "Interesting, huh?" I said, leaning back on the couch. "You meet a lot of folks at the shop. What makes this one stand out?" Sophia's eyes lit up in a way I hadn't seen in a while. "He's like one of those characters from my books," she said. "Kind of brooding and mysterious, but sweet too. And guess what? He reads Westerns." She added that he was trying to start a better life here in the U.S., then paused, her cheeks slightly red. "And that accent," she said. "It's different. Hard to explain." I tried to keep a straight face, but I could already feel something twisting in my gut. "Well, that's nice," I replied, keeping it light. "Always good to have well-read customers, I guess." We changed the subject after that, but something about it stuck with me. Over the next several days, Sophia couldn't seem to stop bringing up Marek. She'd come home with her eyes glowing, talking about how his day went, what he thought of American work culture, or how much he loved authors like Dostoevsky and Tolkien. I felt kind of silly for being jealous. I mean, Sophia was just being friendly, right? And I'll admit, I wasn't the most affectionate husband out there. I was always the practical one. And to be fair, I could be controlling sometimes. Sophia used to tell me I didn't give her enough compliments or notice when she changed her hair or brought home a new pastry recipe from her cafe. I wasn't winning any Husband of the Year awards, but still, I wasn't prepared for what came next. About 4 weeks after she first brought up Marek, I decided to swing by the cafe unannounced one afternoon. It was the usual scene: college kids flipping through books, folks tapping away on laptops, just the typical crowd looking for a caffeine fix and free Wi-Fi. I spotted Sophia behind the counter in her flour-dusted apron, smiling like she always did. I walked up with a little bouquet of tulips in hand, something I'd grabbed from a flower stand nearby. Just a small surprise. A thoughtful gesture. But just as I was about to say her name, the cafe door opened behind me. I felt someone walk past, broad-shouldered, blonde hairstyle just right. Something about him immediately made my skin crawl. It's that strange gut feeling you get when another guy walks in and suddenly the whole room feels different. I turned slightly and caught him looking right at Sophia. His face lit up. "Sophia," he said in a thick Eastern European accent, "I think you left your phone in the back room." He held up her cell like he was presenting treasure. She gave him this big, grateful smile. "Oh my gosh, thank you, Marek," she said. "I was looking everywhere for that. You're a lifesaver." Her tone was warm. A little too warm. My stomach tightened. I stepped up to the counter and cleared my throat. "Hey, honey." She turned, surprised. "Oh, hey. You didn't say you were coming by." Marek stood nearby, watching us with a half-smile like he was in on some inside joke. I gave him a polite nod, but yeah, the tension was thick. Sophia motioned between us. "Marek, this is my husband. He helps out with some of the cafe expenses and stuff." "Babe, this is Marek, the guy I've been telling you about." "So you're Marek," I said, offering my hand. "Heard quite a bit about you." He reached out with a smile. "It's pleasure to meet you. Your wife, she is very kind. She makes me best cappuccino in whole city." I laughed a little, shook his hand, but I couldn't shake the feeling that he was sizing me up, like he was quietly trying to figure out if I was a threat. When I stepped back, Sophia touched my arm across the counter. "I'm kind of busy right now, but thank you for the flowers," she said, giving me a quick kiss on the cheek. And just like that, I was dismissed. That evening, while we were cooking dinner together, I brought Marek up again. She just shrugged, said he was friendly, and I didn't need to worry. When I told her I was a little uncomfortable with how often his name was coming up, she didn't take it well. "Don't be ridiculous," she snapped. "I'm allowed to have friends, especially ones who actually enjoy books the way I do." Just because we talk about literature doesn't mean there's anything more going on. I didn't push it after that. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something she wasn't telling me. About a week later, I was at home, flipping through sports channels, waiting for Sophia to come back from the cafe. She usually locked up around 7:10 p.m., but it was already 9, and I hadn't heard a thing. No missed calls, no messages. At 9:20, she finally came through the door, her cheeks red from the chilly night air, hair slightly messy. "You're late," I said, standing up from the couch, my voice flat. She rolled her eyes and tossed her purse onto the table. "I know, I'm sorry," she said, brushing past me. "The cafe had a crazy day, and I ended up showing Merrick around a bit. He's still new to town." She laughed like it was no big deal. "He's never had a real New York slice before. Can you believe that?" "So we grabbed some pizza and talked about books." "You went out with him? Just the two of you?" I let the question hang in the air, knowing she'd pick up on what I was really asking. She raised an eyebrow. "Don't even start. I already know where this is going, and you're way off." "He's just a friend," she said quickly. "And honestly, he might be gay. He didn't come out and say it, but he's definitely dropped hints." I let out a sharp breath, my arms crossed. That explanation felt a little too convenient, if you ask me. "It's after 9, Sophia. You could have at least sent a text." She rolled her eyes and grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge. "Oh, come on. You never text me when you're stuck at the shop late, sometimes not even till midnight. But I do one spontaneous thing and suddenly I'm the villain? You need to get over yourself. I'm not your property." That one stung. "I never said you were," I snapped. "But you can't pretend this doesn't look shady. You told me he's new in town, that you two bond over books, okay, fine. But when you're out for hours and don't even check in, it doesn't sit right. And then you come back looking like you had the best night of your life." She laughed under her breath, bitter and sharp. "God forbid I enjoy myself talking about something you've never cared about. Books bore you, remember? At least he listens," she added. "When I bring up my favorite authors, he actually wants to hear about them. You just get that blank stare like I'm speaking Turkish." I rubbed my hands down my face. "Don't twist this like I don't support your interests. I've always been proud of what you built with that cafe." I paused, swallowing hard. I don't trust him. I don't care if he's gay or not. Something about him just doesn't sit right with me." "That's your problem," she said, cold as ice. "You don't get to decide who I can be friends with. Marek's the only person right now who gets that side of me." And with that, she stormed off to the bedroom, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. I spent most of that night pacing around the living room, too worked up to sit still. I hated how controlling I felt, but deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something. And that whole, "he might be gay" story? Yeah, it smelled like a cover-up. A few days later, I stopped by the cafe again, no warning this time. I found them tucked into a corner booth, heads close together, voices low. It didn't look like a book club meeting. The second she saw me, Sophia jumped up like she'd been caught doing something wrong. Said they were brainstorming a new reading circle she wanted to host at the cafe. Merrick barely looked at me, just gave a thin smile and kept scrolling on his phone. That night, over takeout, I didn't waste time. "We need to talk," I told her. She shot me a look. "About what?" "Merrick," I said. "Again?" she groaned. "Yes, again," I said, not backing down. "I saw you two today. You were practically whispering to each other like it was some secret." Her face hardened. "I expect you to trust me. I'm not a prisoner. I can have coffee and talk about books with whoever I want." "This isn't about coffee," I growled. "It's about how you've been lying to me." "Lying?" She scoffed. "He's just a kind guy who loves books. And guess what? He notices me, compliments the cafe, actually listens. Something you haven't done in months." That one hit. I couldn't deny I'd been distant, always working. Maybe I've been busy, but that doesn't give you a pass to it. "To what?" She fired back. "To cheat." "I didn't say that," I said, though we both knew I was thinking it. "Then stop treating me like I'm doing something wrong just because I talk to a guy who gets me. It's not like you ever wanted to talk about anything other than diamond inventory or gold margins." I looked at her, jaw clenched. "What am I supposed to think when I see him with his arm around you? When you're always sneaking off for these book talks?" She leaned in, angry now, voice shaking. "So what? You want me to promise I'll never see him again? Is that what this is really about?" "Yes," I said flatly. "That's exactly what I want. If he comes in for coffee, fine. But no more pizza outings. No more solo walks or reading clubs without other people around." "You want a club? Hosted at the cafe with customers." This sneaking off? It ends. Her jaw locked tight. I saw the tears welling in her eyes, but her pride wouldn't let them fall. You don't own me, she whispered. You think because you help with rent and bring flowers once a year that you can control my friendships? I forced myself to stay calm, even though my heart was pounding like a drum. Call it bullying if you want, I said, my voice low but firm. But I'm your husband, and you owe me honesty. Either you stop these private hangouts with him, or so help me, Sophia, this marriage is headed for trouble. Her expression shifted. The fire in her eyes drained into something hollow. Fine, she said flatly. You win. I won't see him again, not outside the cafe. Happy now? I let out a breath, part relief, part frustration. Yes, I said. That's all I was asking. She brushed past me without another word, headed for the bedroom, and slammed the door behind her. I stood there for a long moment, alone in the hallway, feeling less like a husband and more like a dictator. But deep down, I still believed I was right. Something about Merrick didn't sit well with me. Days passed. Sophia kept her distance, barely spoke to me unless she had to. But she seemed to stick to the deal. No late-night texts, no weekend outings. She said the museum plans were canceled. She did mention once that Merrick still came in for coffee sometimes, but just as a customer, nothing else. I nodded like it didn't bother me. But the truth? My gut never settled. Then one afternoon, I dropped by the cafe to drop off a few flyers for the jewelry store, a little cross-promo idea my brothers and I had cooked up. I stepped inside, expecting to see her behind the counter. But Emma, one of the baristas, gave me a quick smile and said, Sophia stepped out. She'll be back in a few. And just like that, the old suspicion crept back in. I told myself to wait. Just wait. Minutes later, I saw them through the front window, Sophia and Merrick, walking side by side down the sidewalk, arms interlocked. Worse than that? They were laughing. Laughing like they didn't have a care in the world. Like they belonged to each other. My heart dropped to my stomach. I stepped to the side so they wouldn't spot me right away. They walked through the front door, still smiling, until her eyes locked on mine. Instant panic. Her smile died. Her arm slipped from his like it had burned her. Hey, she said, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Merrick gave me that same polite little smirk, like always. Hello again, he said, his accent thick with smugness. My jaw tightened. She'd promised this wouldn't happen. Promised. Without thinking, I stepped forward and grabbed her by the arm. Let's go, I said through clenched teeth. What? I have a business to run. Now, I snapped. The cafe fell silent. A few regulars glanced up, confused, awkward. Merrick opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off with a glare that could have cracked glass. Back off, I growled. If you touch her again, you'll regret it. He held up his hands and stepped back, but his eyes stayed on me, calm and smug. Sophia, red-faced, yanked off her apron and threw it on the counter. Fine, she snapped. You want to drag me out in front of my own customers? Let's go. I practically marched her to the car. The whole ride home, we sat in dead silence. My fists clenched on the steering wheel, her arms crossed tight, eyes locked on the window like she wished she was anywhere else. The second we stepped inside, I turned to her, chest rising and falling like I'd just run a mile. What was that about? I snapped. You promised you wouldn't see him outside of the cafe. And then I catch you walking down Main Street, arm in arm, like you're in a relationship. She tossed her purse on the couch and spun around. Maybe because you keep suffocating me with your control. I told you, we're just friends. He's not into women. He flirts with everyone. That's just how he is. Then why keep lying to me? I shouted. You said you'd stop. She threw her hands up. Stop what? Walking down the street? I didn't sneak anywhere. We literally came from the corner deli. Oh, so now I'm stupid? I shot back. You think I don't know what it looks like when two people are linked like that? That's not friendship, Sophia. That's something else. She laughed bitterly. He's gay. I told you that. I've already told you that some people just express their friendship in a way that's comfortable for them, without it having any other meanings. It's not that deep. I rubbed both hands down my face, trying to calm the storm inside me. You keep saying that like it makes everything okay, but it's the same excuse over and over. You expect me to just swallow it and smile. Her lip trembled, not from sadness, but from fury. I've spent years wishing you'd care about the things I love. Books, stories, conversation. And now, finally, someone comes along who shares that with me, and you go full caveman. If you actually gave a damn, she said, her voice trembling, you'd read with me once in a while. You'd try? But instead, I sit alone every night, wishing I had someone to talk to who actually listens. But no, she snapped. You just want to cage me in. Maybe I needed an escape. You ever think about that? Her words hit like a slap. Guilt flared somewhere deep down, but my anger burned hotter. Sophia, I'm not saying I'm perfect, I said, my voice tight. But I'm not going to sit back and watch you cheat on me. That's the line. So it ends, completely, or we're done. She stared at me, eyes starting to well. Then she let out this cold little laugh and wiped her face. We're already done, she whispered. In case you didn't notice. Her voice sharpened like glass. You're not a husband anymore. You're a dictator. And I'm sick of it. She stormed off, back to the bedroom. The door slammed so hard one of the picture frames on the wall rattled. I just stood there, heart pounding, not sure if I should follow her, or just leave and never look back. In the end, I crashed on the couch, drowning in a mix of jealousy, rage, and this deep, sour feeling of betrayal I couldn't shake. The days that followed, she said all the right things, claimed she'd avoid Merrick entirely. I get it, she told me. I'll draw boundaries. He can stop in for coffee, but I won't let him walk me anywhere. But every time she said that, it felt like putting a tiny bandage on a wound that needed surgery. My gut kept telling me something was still off. She barely looked at me anymore. Her eyes always felt far away. And when her phone chimed, she'd snatch it up, tilting the screen away so I couldn't see. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. She was asleep, breathing soft and slow. I reached under her pillow and slid her phone out, hands shaking. I opened WhatsApp. There it was, pinned at the top. Just the letter M. I tapped it. And there it was. My worst fear, confirmed in bright, mocking texts. Merrick, 2:14 p.m. I miss you, baby. Today was so much fun. Your husband suspect anything? Sophia, 2:18 p.m. He's losing his mind. I had to promise I'd avoid you. God, I hate lying to him, but I hate how controlling he's become. Merrick, 2:26 p.m. He is fool, right? We keep going. Let him be in the dark. My pulse roared in my ears. I kept scrolling, should have stopped, but I couldn't. They weren't just chatting. They were laughing about sneaking around, about hooking up in the back office after closing, about how exciting it all felt. Sophia had written, "This is so wrong, but you're right, it's exciting. He's turning into such a villain, I don't even feel guilty." I felt sick. They joked about how gullible I was, how the "maybe he's gay" line was something she made up just to keep me off her back. And he thought it was hilarious. My hands were shaking. I emailed the full chat to myself, then went through her photos. There they were, together, arms around each other, smiling at places she never told me she went. City landmarks, late-night shots, things she must have hidden from my social media. Blocked me, probably. I took screenshots of everything. Then I deleted the evidence from her phone and slid it quietly back where I found it. That night, I didn't sleep. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I ever became that guy. The clueless husband, the emotional punching bag, the punchline in someone else's game. But I wasn't about to be a joke anymore. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen. She was digging through the cabinets, looking for cereal or coffee or whatever. I didn't wait for her to say anything. "Stop," I said. My voice came out flat. "Cold." She turned around, blinking. "Everything about what?" "Drop the act," I said. "I saw your messages with Merrick. The pictures. The things you said. All of it." Her face went pale. For a split second, she looked like a scared kid caught sneaking out. But then, just like that, her face hardened. She slammed the cabinet shut. "You went through my phone?" "That's right, I did," I said firmly. "And I found out how you've been lying, sneaking around after hours, laughing at me behind my back." I stepped closer, shaking with rage. "So guess what? We're done." Her lip quivered. Tears gathered in her eyes. But then she snapped again. "You had no right to snoop. That's my privacy." I laughed, one of those dry, joyless laughs. "That's what you're going with? Not an apology? Not even a denial? Just whining that I found the truth the wrong way." She clenched her fists. "You want the truth? Fine. Yeah, I've been with him." My stomach twisted, but I didn't say a word. "Maybe if you'd been a better husband, someone who actually appreciated me, this wouldn't have happened," she continued. "You've become obsessed with controlling me. You treat every conversation I have like it's a betrayal. You push me away." I couldn't take it anymore. "Don't you dare try to put this on me," I said, my voice rising. "I may not be perfect, but I never lied to you. I never betrayed you. You literally told him it felt wrong but exciting, I said, pointing at her with shaking hands. That's not on me, Sophia. That's on you. She winced, like the words physically hurt. For a second, shame flickered in her eyes, but only for a second. You know what? Believe whatever you want, she hissed. You're the reason I needed to escape in the first place. My blood boiled. Escape. I snapped. That's what you're calling it now. I gave you everything. I helped pay the cafe's rent, backed your dream, tried to be supportive, even when it felt like I was getting nothing back. But I guess none of that mattered, huh? I just wasn't supportive enough of your hobby. So you found a guy who liked your book ideas, and you got close real fast. Unbelievable, she muttered, shaking her head. Her voice cracked as tears started falling. Fine. It's done. Have your meltdown. But just know this. She pointed at me like I was the enemy. We ended up here because you never gave a damn about what I love. All you care about is your business, your money, and making me fall in line. I can't breathe with you around. I exhaled through clenched teeth, my shoulders trembling. Then breathe somewhere else, I said coldly. Pack your stuff. Get out of my house. Her eyes went wide, but I didn't hesitate. I'm filing for divorce. And I meant it. That same day, I called a divorce lawyer. And Sophia? She left in a storm of tears and curses, spending the night on a friend's couch. The next few days, I got to work. I pulled together every message, every screenshot, every photo. My lawyer was stunned. This is bulletproof, he told me. You've got the upper hand, especially if infidelity's clearly the cause. But just when I thought it couldn't get worse, I discovered something even sicker. Merrick had a YouTube channel. Not just any channel. This thing had thousands of followers. His whole shtick? Seducing married women. No joke. He posted videos bragging about it, sometimes in broken English, sometimes in Croatian. Titles like, Pure Poison, How to Tempt a Married Woman, Tips for Secret Affairs. I watched in disbelief as he looked into the camera and started talking about a cafe owner with a jealous husband. My stomach flipped. He was describing us. My marriage. Our nightmare. On display for the world. Worse? The channel linked to a private only-if page, some sketchy knockoff site where he teased actual videos involving these affairs. The previews had blurred faces, but I could have sworn one of them looked like Sophia. I recognized her silhouette. The way she stood, the way she laughed. Maybe she was in on it. Maybe she wasn't. But either way, Merrick was making money off of our pain. I was livid. My lawyer told me to stay calm, finalize the divorce first, and then we'd look into a lawsuit. I tried. God knows I tried. But the rage didn't go away. I daydreamed about confronting Merrick and putting him in his place. Meanwhile, Sophia kept texting me. First, she apologized. Then she blamed me. Said I pushed her away. But the message that really made me stop? One morning, she said she was pregnant. I just stared at my phone, heart pounding. She swore it was mine. Claimed we'd been intimate enough over the past few months that it made sense. But I knew she was close with Merrick, too. The timeline was a mess. A week later, I ran into her by accident. She was at the cafe, even though she wasn't supposed to be. She looked pale, tired, but still had that fire in her eyes. Is it true? I asked, voice low. You're pregnant. She looked at me for a moment, then nodded. Yes. And you're the father. Obviously. I laughed sharp and bitter. Obviously? After you've been spending time with Merrick? Don't insult my intelligence again. She turned red. There's no chance it's his. I mean, well, it's complicated. But we were never careful. It was more frequent with you. I'm almost positive it's yours. Almost positive? I repeated, my words sharp with disbelief. That's not exactly reassuring. Her eyes narrowed. You can do a DNA test once the baby's born. Until then, you're still my husband, and this baby is still half yours. You should step up. I leaned in, voice dripping with sarcasm. Step up? For a kid that might have been conceived during your affair? Not a chance. We'll wait for the test. If it's mine, I'll decide how involved I want to be. If it's not, you can run off with your reading buddy. Her lip trembled. You're so cruel. No, I said, staring her down. You made me this way. Then I walked out. Didn't look back. After that, everything blurred. My lawyer served Sophia the divorce papers at the cafe in front of customers. It was ugly and humiliating. She had no defense. The evidence was overwhelming. In court, my lawyer presented strong evidence, including matching transactions from our joint account to questionable gift receipts for Merrick. Painted her as a gold digger, a cheater. Meanwhile, I came off as the hurt husband, flawed, sure, but not cruel. Not until I was pushed there. Sophia glared at me like I was the villain. But the truth? She turned me into this. In the end, I got the house. Kept my share in the family jewelry business. No alimony. No spousal support. She walked away with the cafe, the beat-up old sedan I bought her. And that was it. When the judge finalized the divorce, I thought I'd finally get some peace. But of course, life had one more punch to throw. Sophia's dad came charging at me outside the courthouse, growling like a guard dog. Said I had a responsibility to the baby. I stood my ground. Told him to back off. No one was going to force me to sign anything without a DNA test. He called me a villain. Said I broke his daughter's heart. I didn't flinch. Just stared him down while he fumed. Meanwhile, that one question kept echoing in my head. Whose baby is it, really? I didn't feel anything close to joy. No hope. No fatherly excitement. Just dread. We agreed to do the test after the birth, no sense doing it early. Sophia, on the other hand, was falling apart. She started blowing up my phone. Sometimes she cried, sometimes she raged. Said I'd abandoned her emotionally and financially. Said I left her with nothing. She even sold the old sedan to keep the cafe open. Left voicemails calling me heartless, controlling, evil. I didn't respond. Didn't even listen to most of them. Just deleted. Cold and unmoved. But the one thing I couldn't let go of? Merrick. The guy who turned my life into a sideshow for clicks. He's not just with my wife, he seeks out women like her. Made a business out of it. Profited off of pain like mine. And I couldn't let that slide. So one afternoon, after the papers were signed, I parked a borrowed SUV with tinted windows outside the cafe. I wasn't alone. I brought two guys from my teenage years. The kind of friends you keep in your back pocket. They owed me a favor. We weren't there to talk. Merrick strolled out around closing time, smug as ever, filming himself with his phone, probably giving his followers an update on his latest conquest. My jaw tightened. I motioned to the guys. We stepped out. Hey, Merrick. I called. He stopped mid-sentence. Looked up, wary. I stepped forward. Remember me? The controlling husband? He tried to play it cool. Flashed that fake grin. You want problems, my friend? Because that's how you get problems. Right then, my guys flanked him, grabbed him by both arms. He fought back, cursing in some mix of Croatian and English. But I saw it. That flash of fear in his eyes. I stepped in close. What about that YouTube channel? I growled. Or that sleazy OnlyF page? You profit off destroying marriages. He sneered. I do not destroy them. Wives, they come to me. Willingly. Maybe they want a real man, not someone like you. That was it. I pushed him. Just a quick shove to get him off balance. He staggered. My friends pinned him to the wall. You messed with my life, I hissed. You filmed my wife. Posted her online. Bragged about it. Now you pay. He tried to charge at me, but one of my guys quickly pulled him back. Another push to his side made him stumble. I grabbed his phone and threw it on the ground. You think you can get away with this? He gasped. I have lawyer. Money. Resources. I got in his face. Try me. I'll sue you for alienation of affection. I'll tip off immigration. I've got your messages, your videos, your whole act. Don't test me. He paled. You have no right. No right? I snapped. You think filming married women without their knowledge is some kind of right? If I see one more video of Sophia or me on your channels, I will take action to stop you. I nodded to my guys. They let him fall. He stumbled to the ground, holding his jaw, his eyes wide in shock. You threaten me? He croaked. You're right. I do, I said, stepping closer. Now gather your things and get out of here. He stumbled, his face contorted in pain, as he collapsed to the ground. But behind all that bluster, I saw the truth. He was scared. All right, he muttered. I leave. Good, I said. And if you ever go near Sophia again, you'll regret it more than you already do. He glared, but the fire was gone. We left him there, phone destroyed, ego bruised, hopefully reconsidering his whole approach. Weeks passed. Then months. Sophia's pregnancy moved along. She kept calling, sometimes angry, sometimes crying. I barely answered. Maybe 4 times, tops. Eventually, she gave birth. A boy. Her dad came at me again, pushing me to sign the birth certificate. I told him the same thing I always did, not until the DNA test is done. Then, finally, the results came in. 0% chance. I wasn't the father. I read those words and let out a bitter laugh. All that drama. All those times she swore up and down that the baby was mine. What a joke. It turned out the kid either belonged to Merrick or someone else she hadn't mentioned. Either way, it wasn't my problem. I screenshotted the test results and sent them to her with a short, final message. We're finished. Don't contact me again.